I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, January the 27th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is proudly manufactured in North America. It is proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price and no BS. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri, going to have another big sale. They're the biggest stockyard in the nation. They got a lot of customers from all around. They're expecting about 12,500 head of cattle. They're going to be starting early. They'll be going by 4 o'clock in the morning. If you can't sleep, get up, check them out on DVAuction.com. They'll be on big bunches by 6:30 or 7 anyway. But big sale there at Joplin. They're going to have a big special cow and bull sale coming up this Thursday, the 30th, at 4:30 in the afternoon. They've got several dispersals on there, some big deals, several good bulls in there. Those are really nice sales, the special cow and bull sales that they have at Joplin Regional Stockyards. Be sure and check those out. Call in there a little bit early. If you can't make it to the sale, you can bid on DVAuction.com. A new Stratosphere. Okay, I've completely run out of superlatives for this cattle market, the commercial cattle market. I can only say it's higher so many times, and it's gotten so repetitive that I can't stand it anymore. I'm glad the market's higher, but it's branched out into a whole new level now, and broke through any kind of reserves that we thought that it would hit, any kind of glass ceilings. It's just went crazy. The board jumped up big on Wednesday last week. You know, it had sputtered towards the end of the previous week, and we thought sure that the cattle market was about to kind of plane out or maybe back off some, and it did for a few days there. But then all of a sudden on Wednesday, we saw the board jump up there big time, with your March feeder cattle up, you know, like $6 nearly for one day's move. I mean, it was just a huge move there. Cash feeders responded, of course. They got right back up there to where they were just maybe 5 or 6 days before. They kept rolling. We're seeing that our sales are not going to be running as big as they have here for the last 2 or 3 months forever. We're starting to see some sale barns say we've just about sold all of our cattle, all of our calves and yearlings, and we're going to be running short. So you know, that we're just on tight supplies. But as I mentioned on our last report for the weekend, it's demand that's really been driving this market all along. We've been slaughtering cattle right along. Carcasses have been way bigger than we've ever seen before. Our red meat production has been more than ever, and yet it still just keeps rolling. But I think maybe supply is going to start playing more of a role in these big prices here as we go forward. Our packers are just short bought, and they started showing that in your brick and mortar fat cattle auctions in the Midwest and in the Northern Plains. Yet we had no northern trade hardly at all to speak of until Friday. And those guys have got the leverage. I mean, they are master negotiators now. The farmer feeders and the independent feeders in Nebraska and Iowa and all around that area, they played their cards right, and they just keep digging every week. They keep digging every week. And the market up there was $3 to $7 higher on a live basis, and dress basis $6 to $8 higher. We had cattle selling routinely as high as $2.13 late on Friday afternoon. I'd heard of a deal or two at $2.14, didn't get any confirmation on that, but it's just unbelievable what these cattle are bringing, more than anybody ever dreamed that they might bring. But the packers want them and they need them. Heck of it is, you've got the Southern Plains down there, and you know, I've been talking about that for as long as any of you have remembered listening to me. I said you cannot give up all your leverage, you Southern Plains feeders. Of course, they're mostly all corporates, And they get into a sweetheart deal, one of these AMAs that NCBA and all the other groups that are all swayed towards the corporate way of doing things. They tell you that alternative marketing agreement, that's the best way to do business. That's how you're going to get paid for your good cattle. So you've got everybody falling for one of them. If it's not a big long-term AMA like your corporate feeders and those that actually are loosely owned by the big packing houses, it's some of your other larger independent feeders there, or we say they were independent feeders. Now they're all going on negotiated grid. The hell of it is, there's no negotiation to the grid. Whatever the main price is in the Southern Plains, that's what you get. Yet you get a few, you get a few premiums here and there. Of course, you're also going to get some discounts. And then you've got everybody that's taking that saying, I plushed the market. I plushed the market. They're just so happy that they got better than one of their neighbors. That's not who you're competing against, people. And, they might have plushed the market where they're getting maybe 2, 5, 6, 7 or something like that. The hell of it is the guys in the north that are selling those cattle in a negotiated manner have leverage, and they're keeping more of the cattle in their hands, and the packers have to come to them and bid on the cattle and compete on the cattle, and the cattle are bringing 2, 10, 12, 13. Now, which would you rather have? You want to plush the market at 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, or you want to get the market in a negotiated manner and haggle with packers and have them come to you and get 2, 12, or 13? I think I'd rather have the higher price there. But the USDA has been looking to change the way that they draw the 5-area reporting region. And basically gerrymander it around where they can get more of the negotiated trade in there. And, Colorado hasn't printed any information for years due to confidentiality rules, because we don't get more than 1 or 2 packers bidding in Colorado. So the only way we hear anything out of there is by private sources or by the rumor mill. And so, USDA is wanting to try to change that up and get more of the negotiated trade included in their reports. And what they need to do is just cut Texas and Kansas out. They're not trading enough cattle to amount to shit. And Colorado probably is trading as many or more than Texas or Kansas on the average. They're just doing it with 1 or 2 packers. And the heck of it is, everybody in the Southern Plains has joined into some type of an AMA. The first thing that they had to do when they joined was promise all their cattle to 1 packer, which eliminates competition. So that price is sucking down, it's watering down the 5-area feeding region weighted average. They should not even be included in that. Do it with some feedlots that are actually selling cattle in a competitive nature. And if you want to include a few more regions, go up to Wyoming, South Dakota, Indiana, Illinois, maybe down into Missouri, where they do have negotiated grid, but they actually negotiate some on the price. But I tell you what, the little drab of cattle that they sell in the Southern Plains, all it is muddying up the water for your 5-area feeding region weighted average. And, they might as well just be like Colorado, even though Colorado's information goes in, but we don't know what the hell it is. But I tell you what, they finally painted themselves completely into a corner and screwed themselves. Congratulations, all you corporate feeders in the Southern Plains. You should really feel good about yourself whenever you're selling cattle at 201 and 202 for the most part, and the cattle in the Northern Plains mostly brought 10 to 11 to 12 bucks more than you guys could do. And then the few guys that are reporting that trade, you can't tell me that they're not getting paid under the table. They absolutely have got to be paid. Why would a man sell some cattle at 201 that are worth 212 unless he's getting paid under the table, or unless they're cutting bulls or heiferettes or something like that, which whenever they report them, the packers report them through mandatory price reporting, and they say they're over 65% choice. Now, the audit, review, and compliance people that come in there and check out the packers through mandatory price reporting are probably not smart enough to match those cattle up and find out what the truth is, but it's not an honest report of what's going on out there. And I think it's ridiculous that we keep going on about this and just ignoring the fact that in the whole Texas Panhandle, eastern New Mexico, western Oklahoma, we can't sell more than a couple thousand cattle negotiated out of the feedlots, and then that price there, it can't be right, because why would anybody sell cattle that are worth so much more for a price there and then reporting that? It's you know, we're just kidding ourselves, and we continue to do it week after week after week, and it's ridiculous. The cattle and feed report come out on Friday. It was bullish. So we saw our January inventory come in at 99.1. That was some less than what our guesses was, but not much more than a percentage point. But our placements come in way below what they had guessed at 96.7. So that is very bullish. If we could stand any more bullish news, marketing's come in at 101% of a year ago, and that was about what they was guessing, and that's usually about the same. Our placements under 800 pounds were a lot lower. So we know as we go forward, our placements are gonna drop off in a big way. And I would say we'll be down in the 80s compared to a year ago within just a few months here on our cattle and feed report. If it's true, we did see the heifer percentage come in, the percent of heifers that are being fed, and those numbers were down 3% compared to the report last year. And we expected there to be fewer heifers on feed, because maybe a few more people keeping them back. But guys, it's still basically going to be 4 years before we start seeing any cattle coming to market from those heifers. But everything's just pointing straight up. Now, I would expect a lot of volatility here this week. I think that these Monday sales are going to be a bunch higher. They got a lot of catching up to do with your late week sales last week. But this market and the board, I'm sure, is going to be very volatile this week, because we've reached these new high levels that we've never seen before. We've had 2 weeks now of President Trump coming in and actually doing something in leadership. Well, he's talking tariffs. He's exporting illegal immigrants. There's been rumors of raids in some packing houses. I haven't got any confirmation on that. We've got all kinds of rumors going on down at the border of when they're going to open up the border to crossing cattle again. It's been closed since November 22nd. The rumors I'm hearing there, don't ever catch me repeating gossip. Listen close the first time, but I don't have any confirmation on that. But I've talked to enough people that are in the know down on what goes on the border, and it's crooked, just like you would assume, and it does include the cartel, just like you would assume, and the cartel is taking advantage of Mexican cattle producers, just like you would assume. They are sending out propaganda. They've gotten into this cattle deal. Anytime you get things priced way overpriced at all-time record highs, and I don't care what you're talking about, you're going to start seeing some kind of mobster type stuff come in, and we're seeing that down there. We've got the guys with ties into the cartel. Somehow they're getting premium for their cattle, and they're sending out propaganda that the border is not going to open, and they are talking producers in Mexico into selling them cattle way off the market, well off the market. And you can totally believe that because of the way things have gone. So and now they're involved in the reason that we're not seeing the border open, I believe. And now we've got new administration coming in. I'm not sure if they're just going to let this thing open, if they want to do more investigating. do more testing around the border crossing points or what's going on. We did see a confirmation of our new Secretary of Agriculture, and under questioning she said she is in favor of country of origin labeling. So maybe that's not such a pipe dream now. Maybe we can get that. So we did see her answer questions about that, said they will find a way to get around the World Trade Organization hurdle that's been stopping us from getting country of origin labeling. So here we go. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of volatility this week, guys. Let's look at your board for last week. February live cattle futures. Of course, board was closed on Monday due to MLK Day. Tuesday was up 30. Wednesday was up $3. Thursday was up $1.05, and Friday was up $3.67. And February live cattle ended the week at 204.77. That was up 802. Wow. Southern Plains cash fed cattle market mostly steady. Spots $1 higher. Okay, your February live cattle spot board up 802, similar to your Northern Plains cash market. April live cattle ended the week at 203.02, up 552. January feeder cattle, Monday was holiday, Tuesday up 90 cents, Wednesday up 265 on the spot month, a bunch more on your out fronts. Thursday was up 2 cents, Friday up $1.62, with January feeder cattle ending the week at 278.70, up 520. March ended the week at 276.57, up 852. Huge gains. March corn ended the week at 486.5, up 2 1/4 cents a bushel. Beans ended the week at 10.55 3/4, up 21 3/4. Hard red winter wheat for March ended the week at 559.5, down 25 cents a bushel. Your fat cattle trade up through Thursday, 13,700 head was all, with most of the trade coming in Friday, and most of it, the lion's share by far, in the northern plains of Nebraska and Iowa. But up through Thursday, our live prices of fat steers and heifers negotiated cash for 201 to 211, which was 1 to 5 higher. Your weighted average on live steers up through Thursday was 204.14, up 58 cents. Dress sales ran from 320 to 325, which was kind of uneven and very light, with not many sales reported up through Thursday. The weighted average on dress steers was 322.15. That was up about 66 cents, but like I said, very light trade. Then Friday, the roof popped off when the Northern Plains negotiated cattle feeders asked more for their cattle, and they got more for their cattle. Iowa sold 15,900 on Friday up through 2 o'clock. There'll be a lot more late sales. It'll be a big movement, guys. 18,500 for the week in Iowa. Prices in Iowa on Friday were 206 to 212, $3 to $6 higher. Dress sales 328 to 338, $6 to $8 higher. Nebraska sold 17,800 head on Friday up to 2 o'clock, 20,600 head for the week. Your market in Nebraska was mostly 208 to 212, which would be $4.5 to $7 higher live. Dress sales from 328 to 339. Kansas sold 700 head. There was some of northern Kansas that got in on a little bit of the higher market there. They sold 7,000 in Kansas, which is nothing negotiated cash. But on Friday, they finally did see a little bit of that market. They got 208 for some fats in Kansas and 330 dressed. Texas never sold any at all on Friday, while everybody north of them was just whirling, and only 2,000 for the week. 202 was the best price that we got negotiated direct sales out of the feedlots in Texas for fats, while the bulk of the north was bringing $10 more than that. Let's talk about your box beef cutout values. They ended the week lower. Your weighted average on all of last week's choice cuts was 331.22. That was down 229 compared to the previous week's weighted average. And your late Friday sales were a lot lower than that, about 3 1/4 lower than that. So I'm not sure why your packers aren't able to keep that price up. They set that price. I think they're just trying to get some sympathy, because most all of their dressed beef sales are contracting out front. Just a little dab of spot there, they could maybe get a little bit of sympathy with those markets struggling. But I don't think these Northern Plains guys are going to give up any, especially the ones that are taking them to the brick and mortar fat cattle auctions. But your weighted average on last week's select cuts, all of them, 318.10, down 61 compared to the previous week's weighted average. And the late Friday sales were about $1.80 lower than that weighted average. Choice select spread on your weighted average was just over $13. All that on 683 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter last week ended up being a little bit disappointing. 599,000. You hate to see it fall under 600. That was 4,000 less than the previous week, 16,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Fairpiece, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven, is helping so many producers out there. And we've got some scientific studies that have been done on weaning calves. And then I've told you in the last couple of weeks about a scientific study that they did on feeding yearlings, and it was well worth the expense of treating cattle with Fairpiece on both of those. But I'm getting some testimonials from Feeder Flash gang members that keep putting comments on this report and sending me messages and emails and saying, hey, we're using it for everything we do with cattle. And I'm not saying these are scientific proven, but you know, guys are using them anytime that they're moving cattle. Said the cattle settle down so much better and they move so much better and they don't shrink as much. Even calving out cows, they've used it on that and said they've noticed a difference. And then the latest one, I talked to a guy that was AIing some heifers, and he said that he thinks his conception rate was better because of the Fairpiece. Like I said, those weren't scientific studies, but people are just using it and getting along really good with it. And if you want to try your own study, check them out at fairpiece.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market for last week. Your real-time index, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer running from 7 to 899 pounds, 7-day moving average, just like your CME cash feeder cattle index. It ended the week last week at 278.04. That was up 60 cents. And you think, gosh, it should have been up a lot more than that. Well, your market didn't really jump until late in the week, and we didn't have any big sales late in the week that really overshadowed what we saw middle of the week and earlier the week. So 278.04 is what we closed the week with. That was very close to this 278.28 that your cash feeder cattle index had, latest available. Big sale here on Monday you need to check out. Another one is Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. Saw Jack Harrison's going to have about 3,800 head for them. They'll be on DVAuction.com also. Your cash feeder trends last week, from start of the week last week up through Wednesday, were unevenly steady to $4 higher, and not moving a whole lot. Things were kind of planing out a little bit like they had the end of the previous week. And then on Thursday, after the board was up so much on Wednesday, on Thursday and Friday, we saw your trends turn sharply higher in your feeder cattle auctions all over. Give you one that's a pretty good tested market in a centrally located area. How about Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas there? That's right on the Missouri-Kansas border. They had a pretty good sale there. About 2,500, maybe a little more. Not as big a sale as they had the previous week, but it was a pretty good test of the market. And I left your changes on here. Was your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. Check out your best tested weights. 244 head of 5-weight steers, average 549, with a weighted average price of $337.50. 518 head of 6-weight steers averaged 658 at 301.44. 277 head of 7-weight steers averaged 765, weighted average price 280.47. And 465 head of 8-weight steers averaged 861 at 260.61. Now look at the heifers. 293 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 648 at 272 smooth, and 255 head of 7-weight heifers, Fort Scott, Kansas, they averaged 766 with a weighted average price of 256.15. Give you several individual quotes from late last week or over the weekend. How about verdigris stockyards in Nebraska? They're a DVAuction broadcaster. They sell 70 steers, weight 737 at 316.50. How about St. Francis, Kansas? St. Francis stockyards there sell 93 steer calves, weight 597 at 358. Thought that was awfully impressive. How about Wahoo livestock sales? I told you they were going to be having a big sale there on Friday. The Help cattle had 1,450 head, one consignment. And you think, oh, that's risky. Guy putting all of his chips on the table. No, they sold like hotcakes. He got along great, way higher than he would have ever had enough gall to ask in the country. Take them to the sale. Let people bid on them, guys. He, including in his sale there, he sold 350 head of steers in one whack, weighed 772, close to 800 pounds, guys, and bring $300.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Crawford Livestock Market on Friday in Crawford, Nebraska. There was 70 head of steers, weighed 905, and they bring 293. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.